Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had yourself a great weekend. I went fishing myself, and it was a little bit cold and a little bit bumpy, but I did manage to win the grouper jackpot and basically paid for my trip, so you can't really complain about that. But I hope you had a glorious weekend as well. But it's Monday, and we're here, and we're going to kick it off with a story about the president going down to Georgia. President Trump was in Valdosta, Georgia on Saturday, held a big rally, over 10,000 people, maybe even more. And his main message there was to get out and vote in Georgia in the upcoming runoff elections, January 5th, when the Senate is at stake. Who controls the Senate? The hardcore progressive leftists that are taking over the country, it seems like, or are the Republicans going to hold on to power? And I don't trust them either, but we'll get into that. But the president said specifically, we must ensure victory in Georgia, and we'll talk about that. And then, of course, if we don't do it, what could be our future? Well, I think Venezuela, our neighbor to the south, is showing us the way that things are going to go if we don't fight, if we don't win this fight in the United States of America for the heart and soul and keeping our republic, as Benjamin Franklin said, if we can keep it. So I'm going to get into all those stories. But before we go any further, I always have to mention our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited, otherwise known as BDU. If you go to our show, no matter where you're watching it, we're live Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. If you're watching now, good morning, howdy, how are you? We're also streamed as a late night show on America's Voice News, Facebook in the morning, America's Voice News at night. You can download your free app on your Android or your iPhone. They got Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Channel 219, Dish Network. You can see our show on, as well as the Pluto Network. And of course, we're growing across all these new social media like Parler, MeWe. We got BitChute, I think it's called, something like that now, and Rumble, and we're growing every day. So no matter where you're watching the video, don't forget our YouTube channel, spell it all the way out, John Martin Talks. But no matter where you're watching the video, look above it and you will see a description of the show. Scroll down on there and you will see Big Daddy Unlimited, our sponsor. Click on that. You have your Second Amendment headquarters, everything, guns, ammunition, factory direct pricing delivered directly to your door, tactical gear, thousands of items. Check it out and you will not be disappointed. We also have a giveaway happening. Yes, you can get something for free. Free is pretty good unless it's government handouts maybe. But we're giving away 3 t-shirts this week from Patriot Threads, a new sponsor of the show. Check out the giveaway. You can also go directly to patriotsthreads.org, plug in the promo code JMT, and you can order anything they have at 20% discount, promo code JMT. Check it out. All right, let's get on with the show. This first story comes to you from Breitbart, and it's about Donald Trump going down to Georgia, not to get something to steal, but to keep an election from getting stolen. Trump's mandate, Georgia patriots must show up and vote in U.S. Senate runoff. And like I say, it was a big rally there, primarily to talk about Kelly Loeffler and Mr. Perdue, who is running, both of them in Georgia. If you didn't know this, let me explain it very quickly. Georgia has what some people call a jungle primary. In other words, if you're running for office in Georgia, in this case, U.S. Senate, you don't have a Republican primary, Democratic primary, and then a general election. You have one big general election in November. Everybody runs at the same time, and Republican against Republican, Democrat. And if no person gets 50% plus one, then the top 2 go to a runoff, in this case in January. So you had 2 Republican senators running, Mr. Perdue almost got to the threshold. He got right at 50%. Of course, he was ahead like Donald Trump until they did all this additional counting of votes, I suppose. And he ended up dropping below that threshold. Ms. Loeffler never did reach that threshold. So there is now a runoff between two Republican candidates against two Democratic candidates, literally for control of the U.S. Senate. And this is outside of whether President Trump, and he even talks about that, and we'll get to it in the article, whether or not he wins his fight to get the election to stop the steal. The control for the U.S. Senate is in the hands now of the residents of the great state of Georgia. So we'll talk all about that. All right, Valdosta, Georgia. If there was any uncertainty about what President Donald Trump thought Georgians should do in January 5th regarding the U.S. Senate runoffs, he cleared that up during a rally in the Peach State on Saturday. Well, let me just say this, because President Trump gets all kind of bad coverage and misquotes and everything else. Donald Trump has always encouraged people to vote. Think about that. He has always encouraged people to vote. And maybe it's out there, but I have not seen it. I can tell you, I've been to multiple rallies. I have never once heard President Trump say people shouldn't vote. He's never said Democrats shouldn't vote. He's encouraged them, of course, to vote for him. He's always encouraged people to vote. And this Georgia thing is no different. And he even says, as we'll see him quoted here in just a moment, that in spite of what challenges he's going through, the people in Georgia need to come out and vote for these two Republican candidates. But this is what he said, one of the things President Trump said. He said, "We're gathered here tonight to ensure a very important word, ensure, because these are two great people," talking about Loeffler and Perdue, "that I know so well and are respected by everybody in Washington and beyond." Trump declared that David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler win the most important congressional runoff probably in American history. And there's a strong case to be made for that he is absolutely right, because it literally could dictate the direction of the country, let alone whether or not President Trump continues on and has a legacy. Because if the progressives take over, which the Democrats, and I'm not talking about all Democrats, I'm talking about the Democratic leaders, certainly the two that are running in this runoff against the two Republicans. They are hardcore progressive leftists. Make no mistake about it. You got an Ossoff guy. I don't know a whole lot about him other than he's a darling of Hollywood. And you got this guy named Warnick, who is a big fan of Reverend Wright. You remember Reverend Wright from Obama fame where he said, GD America? Yeah, that guy. Well, this Warnick fella is a disciple, basically, of Reverend Wright. But Donald Trump said, "I think it's an American. There's never been a time like this where you have two at one time," talking about Perdue and Loeffler. But he said here that we need to ensure. Let me read that quote again. He said, "We're gathered here tonight to ensure," and he said it's a very important word, ensure, that these two great people get elected. So I thought I'd look up the word ensure to make sure the context of what I thought the president was doing. Multiple definitions, but in this context is what I think he's talking about. Ensure, because words matter. They absolutely matter, and President Trump knows that better than most. Ensure, make sure that a problem shall not occur. Make sure that a problem shall not occur. And that is exactly what would happen if the Democrats win and take the Senate. Put President Trump aside for just a second. Well, let me back up. Don't put him aside in this sense, that if President Trump is successful with his challenge, and God, I hope he is, he's going to need the Senate to carry forward with the MAGA agenda, right? And God help us if Joe Biden actually becomes president, or Kamala Harris, or whoever it ends up being, that we're absolutely going to need to hold on to the U.S. Senate to keep a total socialist takeover of America from happening, and ensure that at least some of President Trump's legacy continues on and is safeguarded. President Trump has talked about running again if he doesn't succeed in this challenge. Well, there won't be anything left for him to run for if the Democrats have 4 years where they control everything. And I know you say, well, they don't control the Supreme Court. Well, they will if they get their way, packing the court and everything else. I want to play you this video that pretty much sums up what we're up against. Because if Georgians don't come out in mass numbers, I know there's corruption. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But the solution is not to not vote. It is to come out, Georgia. I'm talking specifically to Georgians. It is your duty to the United States of America, to our great republic. If you believe in the Constitution, it doesn't matter what political party you're in. If you believe that we are a constitutional republic and you want to see that stand, then Georgians, it is your duty to come out in such mass numbers that you overwhelm even the most corrupt of corrupt people. But this, if you don't, Georgia, this is what you're going to bring to the entire country, and I guess according to Mr. Schumer, the world. Check it out.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change the world. Yeah!
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Mr. Schumer?
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
Change America. That means shred the Constitution. Let me tell you what that means. Burn that sucker down. That's Schumer. And a side note on that video, did you notice that Schumer, when he first got down there, he was in a big crowd of people. He didn't have a mask on. And then he said what he said about changing the world, and then he put a mask on and said, change America. I point that out for this reason, because I know America is under shutdown. You guys out in California, man, I feel for you. I was on the boat this weekend, and there were quite a few people from Michigan on the boat. And I teased them. I said, you guys are escaping your Napoleonic governor up there, Whitmer. Same thing out in California. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. If the disease, and I'm not downplaying corona, don't misunderstand me, but if it was as bad and as dangerous, and if masks actually really prevented it, and these guys like Schumer, they're no dummies. They may be hardcore leftists, but they're not dummies. If he really and truly believed that, would he step out into public at any minute? Could he possibly forget to put a mask on? I mean, it's all for show. It pretty much sums it up there, that the mask wearing, and I'm not saying don't wear a mask. I'm simply telling you that the Democratic leaders don't believe what they're preaching. Imagine that. But take them at their word. One of my axioms here is take progressives at their word. If you Georgians don't do your job January 5th, that guy Chuck Schumer will be in charge. Even if President Trump is successful, he'll have to deal directly with Chuck Schumer, and who would wish that on their worst enemy? Back to the article. Loeffler faces Democratic challenger Raphael Warnock. That's the guy I said is a disciple of Reverend Wright, you know, the GD America guy. And Purdue faces Democratic John Ossoff on January 5th runoff ballot. This is what Donald Trump continued in his comments. He said, at least you have two beauties, talking about Loeffler and Purdue. And you know what? You also have two beauties running against them, but beauty in a different way. I hear you. They're two beauties, but there's never been a case where a state has had this prominence on Senate races because they're never together. So this is a very unique circumstance that Purdue was up for re-election because his term had ended, and Loeffler was appointed, so she had to run in a special election. So that's why you have two U.S. Senate seats in Georgia up at the same time. That's what the president's talking about. This is something that's very important, and you have to get out. You have to vote. You have to make sure you have every vote counted. Everyone, this is the president's words, has to count. Well, let me ask you this. Are you ready to, Georgians, a couple of things. Are you ready to do your jobs, your duty, your sworn duty? I mean, I don't know if it's too late to register in Georgia or not, but if it isn't, please get registered. Check out your local supervisor of elections. The country, the nation, and freedom-loving people all over the world are literally counting on you. I cannot over-dramatize this enough. The fate of the United States of America, the MAGA agenda, America First, all of those things, freedom-loving all over the world, literally comes down to whether the devil is going to win in Georgia or Donald Trump and the MAGA agenda. It really comes down to that. Now, I know for instance, just to show you, and I wouldn't expect people to come from all over the country, but come if you can. The progressives will come. The Hollywood elite is coming. They're donating tons of money to help defeat the Republicans and take over the U.S. Senate. They're coming. What are you going to do? Locally here, I saw that our chair, our local Democratic chair, led a group of people up into Georgia over the weekend. I haven't discussed with him. I just saw this on Facebook, and they volunteered, door knocked, all kind of different stuff in Georgia. So you had people from Florida going there. I would expect that all the neighboring states around, if you freedom loving, go, and if you can go in anyway, but you can always donate. And I'll back up to volunteering. There's a way, and the technology is such now, contact the Republican Party in Georgia. Certainly you could contact your local Republican Party. There may be ways for you to call without ever leaving your home, no matter where you live, to get out the vote in Georgia. You can always donate. Donate money directly to Perdue and Loeffler. That'd be a great way to do it. You could donate to the Republican Party in Georgia. That would also, all of the above, if you can. But there's something all of us can do, no matter what your situation is. Contact anybody you know in Georgia. If you have friends, family in Georgia, business associations, now is not the time to be shy. Contact them and beg them, if you have to get out and vote for the Republicans, no matter what their party affiliation, because literally the fate of the nation hangs in the balance. I mean, it just does. Back to this rally in Georgia. Earlier in the week, attorney Sidney Powell, we did a story on this last week. If you want to check out our podcast, a couple of ways to do it. Probably the best way is just to go directly to our YouTube channel, spell it out, John Martin Talks. Of course, Rumble, we're just really getting started on there. We got quite a few videos loaded up. I'm still getting used to the platform, but it seems like a great alternative. But check us out, John Martin Talks YouTube, John Martin Talks Rumble. Check out all of our podcasts there. But earlier in the week, attorney Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood held a press conference and told attendees not to participate in the upcoming Senate runoff election. Now, I played this video. This is a snippet of Lynn Wood. If you don't know who he is, he's a Georgia attorney. He seems to be a Democrat. Of course, in this video, you have Miss Powell, Sidney Powell. She's the one that helped Michael Flynn get a better representation and ultimately get off and get his sentence reduced and to get pardoned by the president. Lynn Wood is the guy that represented those Georgia kids that were wearing the MAGA hats on a field trip from Kentucky and got a big settlement from CNN. Now, Lynn Wood is speaking in this video, and he's talking about the corruption, and he's challenging Perdue and Loeffler to speak out more about the corruption. And he was blasted for this in the alternate right media, if you want to call it that, but certainly right-leaning media, for telling people not to vote. I defended him slightly. I have a slightly different take on this. Now, I don't agree with what Mr. Wood is saying is the solution, and I'll get that, but I want to put it into context, so I'm going to play this video, so listen to him in his own words. Check it out.
But I'm going to disagree with Vernon Jones. Where's Kelly Loeffler here? Where's David Perdue? He ought to be standing right here. Those two people want your vote, then they ought to tell you what we're... Get a special session of the legislature now. Do not be fooled twice. This is Georgia. We ain't dumb. We're not going to go vote on January 5th in another machine made by China. You're not going to fool Georgians again. If Kelly Loeffler wants your vote, if David Perdue wants your vote, they've got to earn it. They've got to demand publicly, repeatedly, consistently, Brian Kemp call a special session of the Georgia legislature, and if they do not do it, if Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue do not do it, they have not earned your vote. Don't you give it to them.
That's good enough. I understand the frustration that Mr. Lynn Wood there is saying, And I agree with him. It is really tough to go vote in an election when you know that your vote might not count or it might be overwhelmed with corruption. And I absolutely agree with him that Loeffler and Perdue need to speak out more on this. And 100% agree with him that the governor, who is Republican, by the way, Kemp, should actually call a special session of the legislature to address all of these issues. I am 100% behind all of that. And I do fault Perdue and Loeffler for not being more out front on that issue. They're kind of walking the line on this. They don't want to upset anybody. Now's not the time to be shy. I can tell you that. It is not. So I agree with the sentiment that he is portraying. I do not agree ultimately with the solution because we don't necessarily have time to get all that done. We need to get it done, but I've told you before, I don't trust the Republicans. I simply don't. I don't trust them. But they're our only shot, because I know I may or may not be able to trust the Republicans to straighten up our election system. But I guarantee you that if the Democrats get in charge, Georgia, are you listening to me? Please, I hope you are. Spread the word to other people in Georgia. If the Democrats get control of the U.S. Senate, then nothing is going to change for the better. In fact, they will codify the election, not just the results and knock out President Trump, but to ensure that Republicans, conservatives, Donald Trump, should he come back in 2024, if he doesn't prevail, and God help us, I'm with him prevail, I pray for it on a daily basis, but should he have to come back in 2024, he might not be able to win no matter what, because the election system will be, there's a House Bill 2, HR 1, literally wants to make D.C. a state. So they're going to push that through, which would guarantee them 2 more senators. The Democrats guaranteed 2 more senators because D.C. basically votes almost 100% in the high 90s for Democrats. Get them another member of Congress. I'm telling you, if we don't take back that Senate, regardless of what happens with President Trump, we are going to be in a mess. So I don't trust the Republicans at all. I really don't. But you know who I do trust? I trust President Donald J. Trump. And President Trump said we need in Georgia to vote to ensure the Republicans hold on to the Senate. That alone, there's more. I could go through a litany of reasons why we can't let the Democrats take over the Senate. But that alone, that President Trump looked in the camera and asked us to support, and you Georgians need to listen. I don't care what party you are. It doesn't matter to me what party you are. All it matters is the Republic and the U.S. Constitution. If you're freedom-loving, you need to listen to President Donald Trump. Even if you didn't vote for him in November, you need to listen to him because he's telling you that in order to ensure that we keep our constitutional republic, you have to vote for the 2 Republicans. So I may not trust any of them, but I trust President Trump. And if I was in Georgia, I know exactly what I would do. That's why I'm encouraging you. Trump acknowledged his self-proclaimed allies. He's talking about Linwood and Sidney Powell and maybe others. Trump acknowledged his self-proclaimed allies were urging Georgia voters to do otherwise. He addressed that issue head on. And that's one thing I love about President Donald Trump. He addresses it head on. Sometimes people say, oh, he's not presidential. Thank God, because we need somebody to give us straight talk. Let me ask you this. When President Trump was campaigning, let alone when he won, and the last 4 years as he's been president, how many times and this I would ask you out there in general, but certainly MAGA people, how many times have you listened to President Trump say something and you say, it's about time? I always wanted to yell that out. I always wanted to say that. It's about time somebody told the truth. That is what President Trump said. The fact that he's taken this issue head on does not surprise me in the least. But President Trump went on to say, if you don't get out and vote, they're going to win. Talking about the leftists, they're going to win. Now you know a lot of people, friends of mine, say let's not vote. So he's addressing this issue straight up. we're not going to vote because we're angry about the presidential election. And who could be more angry about the presidential election than the president himself? And he said, they're friends of mine. They are people that are great people. They are real friends. And more than just two, there are numerous people, and it's almost like a protest. So he gets it, and I get it. I get the protest thing, not voting. I understand that sentiment. But he goes on to say, but if you do that, the radical left wins. And that's the message we need out there to ensure President Trump is speaking plain, straight talk, that he said the radical left wins. He goes on to say, it's okay. It was sort of an instinct of mine. You know, you're angry because so many votes were stolen. So he's acknowledging that they're stolen from Georgia. It was taken away from him, from Perdue and Loeffler. And you say, well, we're not going to do it. Vote anymore. You know, and Billy Bob reminds me of something. If you hadn't met my psychic sidekick, this is Billy Bob Bass. Yes, some of us crazier than others. Make fishing great again. I'm a fish whisperer. He keeps me straight on the show. He has a Twitter handle, by the way. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. And we also archive our show there. It's a little bit delayed because it takes a while to get up on YouTube to put there. But Billy Bob told me that Donald Trump reminds him of somebody. Billy Bob and I are both big movie buffs, and I watched this just the other day over Thanksgiving weekend again. Show this. There you go. John Wayne in True Grit, baby. Donald Trump has that. He has true grit. And he's like John Wayne there, a defender of the Second Amendment. Check out our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited. Go to the top of our show, no matter where you're watching it. Scroll down and you will see our sponsor, your Second Amendment headquarters, Big Daddy Unlimited. Like I tell you all the time, not everybody can be a fighter, but everyone can support those in the fight, like supporting the candidates in Georgia. Donate, volunteer, make phone calls. Check out our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited. Check out our new sponsor, Patriot Threads. Remember the giveaway. That giveaway link is above the video too. You can win 3 shirts. It's going to last approximately 2 weeks, and we're going to give away some Patriot Thread t-shirts. Go directly, if you don't want to wait, go directly to patriotthreads.org. Type in the promo code JMT, get 20% off. And oh, by the way, if you're a group that's looking to raise money for a specific charity, go to Patriot Threads. They will help you set that up, selling t-shirts with your charity and an American theme on there, and a portion of those proceeds will go directly to the charity you want. All of that, JMT, 20% off at patriotthreads.org. But Donald Trump, man, if anybody ever in the White House had true grit, it's that man right there. So thank you, Billy Bob, for pointing that out. Trump continued. He said, we can't do that, talking about not voting or boycotting or protest. He said, we can't do that. We have to actually do just the opposite. As I say, I don't trust any of them. I trust Donald Trump. And he's saying we need to ensure the victory. We need to get out and vote in Georgia. You Georgians, people like me need to help. Put the clarion call out there. I don't trust any of them, except I do trust the president. And he's asking me, and that's good enough for me. We can't do that, he said. We can't do that. We have to do just the opposite. If you don't vote, the socialists and the communists win. Amen to that, Mr. President. They win. Georgia patriots must show up and vote for these two incredible people. And I'm telling you, this is the president. Listen to him. He said, I'm telling you, they are two of the finest people you'll ever meet. We can fight for the presidency and fight to elect 2 great senators. So he's saying, I'm not giving up the fight, but you can help elect these these 2 senators, and help me at the same time. He said, we can do it at the same time. We'll do it at the same time. It's all right. The election is about David Perdue, one of the greats, Kelly Loeffler, a person who is just unbelievable. And I want to repeat what the president said. We can do it at the same time. In fact, we must do it at the same time. It is vital that we hold on to the Senate and try to get President Trump over the finish line in this thing. All of those things can be done at the same time. Volunteer, make phone calls, contact your local Republican Party. They should be able to point you in the right direction. If you can't figure it out, chime in on Facebook, wherever you're watching it from. Let me know on YouTube, and I will try to help you. Let me know where you are, and I'll give you a link. I'm wanting to do everything I can. Contact everybody you know in Georgia. Tell them how important this is. If it's still time to register to vote in Georgia, then do so. If you are a registered voter in Georgia, it doesn't matter to me what party you are, whether you support the President of the United States. The only thing that matters to me in this situation is, do you support the U.S. Constitution? Do you want to do and accept the challenge that Benjamin Franklin said, a republic, if we can keep it? Then you need to get out and vote for these two Republicans to hold on to the Senate. It's vital. We must ensure that, as the president said. The president's desire for Georgians to vote was a theme throughout Trump's address on at least a half a dozen different occasions. So he's very serious about this. Trump explicitly urged, this was at the rally in Valdosta, Mr. Pence, Vice President Pence, was in Georgia twice in the last week, basically doing the same thing. Trump explicitly urged attendees to vote. This is the president. I trust the president. Listen to what he's saying. If these two don't get in, or if they don't get in these two don't, he's a little, sometimes he does it. We have got to get the best would be all three. So in other words, he's saying that the best would be to get him over the finish line and these two people. But regardless, he's telling you we have to get these two senators in no matter what happens, he said. He said, but they want to destroy the sanctity of the Supreme Court. This is the Democrats, if they get total power. The importance of the Supreme Court, the majesty of the Supreme Court. They'll terminate religious liberty. Are you listening out there? It doesn't matter what religion. If you believe, it doesn't matter if you believe or not. If you believe in liberty, you need to listen to what the president is saying. They'll cancel free speech. We see that already on a daily basis. And force you to fund extreme late-term abortion. We know that, right? And there will be nothing to stop them. Nothing to stop them. Listen to the president. If they don't get in, there's going to be, talking about getting the Republicans in, there's going to be nothing to stop them, the progressive leftists. You have no idea how bad it will be. There will be nothing. Well, I have some idea, and we're going to do a story on it in a minute. We will become Venezuela. If you love your pets, and I know algorithm may punish me for saying this on Facebook, if you love your pets, and I don't mean the taste of them, you better vote Republican, because in Venezuela, they're eating their pets. I mean, that's what it's coming to. Trump went on to say, everything that we have achieved together is on the line January 5th. Are you listening? The president is telling you that his entire legacy, whether he wins or not, is on the line January 5th if you don't get out and vote in Georgia. We got to have it. In this election, you can send a message to the fake news media, and he points to the ones in the back like he does, and there's a lot of them right back there. And they'll find something wrong with this evening. They'll call it a super spreader, right? That kind of thing. I don't know what it is, but they'll find something wrong. Maybe it was the person that shouted love. He said they'll say it was a horrible protester. They'll find something, Kelly and David. He's pointing to them. Because let me just tell you, if you've never been to a Trump rally, if you get a chance, because he's talking about even if Biden actually wins, God help us. This is the president, by the way. He's saying he might have a rally opposite the inauguration. Trump is going to resist. I can tell you that no matter what. Are you? That's the question. Are we just going to take our toys and go home? Are we just going to give up? Because if we do, we're guaranteed to lose. I get a little shaky here. As you can tell, this is very important, man. And I don't normally get involved in Georgia. I want to go up there and win the SEC championship, that kind of thing. But I'm telling my Georgians, I'm putting my orange and blue Gator stuff aside. Get out and vote. Go see the shining sea, so to speak, corner to corner, Georgia. Get out there and vote, man. You got to do it. But he continued, the president, I'm excited because I'm channeling my inner Trump here. He said they're going to find something. They're having a hard time. It's been a love fest. I'm telling you, a Trump rally is a love fest. The left don't understand it. A lot of people don't get Donald Trump. But those of us who do, I got a man crush on him. I'll tell you that right now. I love me some Donald Trump, and he is about love. What happened to love trumps hate? I can tell you Donald Trump doesn't have hate in his heart. He is passionate about this. As I say, I don't trust many in Washington, D.C., if any, but I trust the president, and he's asking us to ensure victory in Georgia. But they all want, back to Mr. Trump, said they all want the Silicon Valley censors, talking about big tech, and the corrupt Democratic political machine, their partners. You must vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Don't take my word for it. You could. The president's asking you to. Go out and vote. So if you had any doubt about where the president stands on this, about protesting and boycotting, even though he knows that the election is being stolen from him, he knows that. Who's more angry about that than him? Maybe me and Billy Bob, but he's definitely, I'm repeat, he says, go out and vote. With your help, we're going to continue our mission to save America. How much blunter can it be? So if you're in Georgia, I know I keep repeating it, but I got to hammer it home. Get out, vote. I know it's corrupt. Overwhelm the corruption. We can do it. What a leader, ladies and gentlemen, we have had in Donald Trump. I just want to calm down a minute. Let me take a sip and calm down. This is, some kind of diet soda. I'm John Martin, not Dean Martin. But I got to calm down because I want to make this point. Man, what a leader we have had and we have in Donald. True grit, baby. True grit. He is the Rooster Cogburn of politics, right? Not always the most couth, not always politically correct. In fact, never. But straight talk, Donald Trump is the man. He is. He is telling us that we have got to come together and get Loeffler and Perdue over the hump. We got to vote in spite of the corruption. Overwhelming. But we have truly, think about this, ladies and gentlemen. And I know some of you snowflakes don't like this, but if I'm saying something that melts, you deserve to be melted. We have been truly blessed to have Donald Trump as president. Whether he gets over the hump, we're still blessed. We'll be more blessed with 4 more years, whether it's now stopping the steal or whether he actually does come back and run again in 2024. We will be blessed to have this. Bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, I trust the president, and he's asking us to ensure the victory in Georgia. What more do you need to hear? This election, ladies and gentlemen, is about tyranny versus freedom. That's what this is all about. If we're not going to fight now, when are we going to? When are we going to? We still have President Trump in the White House. He's asking us to fight. Stand and fight. Fight with your voice. Fight with your vote. Fight with your dollars. Fight with your volunteerism. Fight with everything you got. Because now is the time to man the political ramparts. Because this is literally tyranny versus freedom, or vice versa. It literally is. Now, you may ask, so, I guess that's the end of that particular rant. But I'm probably going to keep coming back to it all the way through January 5th because it's that important. All right, we got a few minutes left. I want to get into this next story. It's an AP story. What would it mean, basically, if we don't hold on to the Senate in Georgia, the U.S. Senate? Man, all the world's eyes are on you guys. One thing I was telling some Georgia people on the boat this weekend, because I preach on there as well, that, man, hey, if they think they've seen some political ads, they ain't seen nothing. They might spend $1 billion on political ads before this is over in Georgia. But what happens if we allow the progressives to take over everything? If we boycotted the election in Georgia like some have called for, and believe me, there are Democrat pundits behind some of that as well. There are never Trumpers putting up billboards. We talked about that last week. Check out the podcast. But what happens if you boycott the election? Well, I think we're seeing our neighbors to the south right here. This is an AP story. Venezuela's Maduro claims sweep of boycotted election. Caracas, Venezuela. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro political alliance claimed a sweeping victory Monday in congressional elections boycotted by the most influential opposition politicians and widely criticized internationally as being fraudulent. I don't disagree with that. And I'm not saying it would have mattered had they voted, because I believe Maduro is going to do whatever he can, just like Biden and his bunch going to do everything. Power is all that matters to these progressives. But that's what's going to happen for sure if you Georgians boycott the January 5th runoff. We will have an automatic win. And we may get it anyway, but at least we'll go down fighting, and at least we'll expose the corruption, because there are going to be a lot of eyes on Georgia. It's not like the general election where you had multiple states. This is one state, and we're going to be watching. We're going to be watching really close. But if we boycott it, it really won't matter. The win, and back to Venezuela, the win gives Maduro control of the last major branch of government outside of his grasp. So now he's totally taken over. Maduro said in a televised address, he said, "We have recovered the National Assembly with the majority vote of the Venezuelan people." Really? It's a great victory without a doubt for democracy. It's a great victory. Now let me say, this is Maduro saying this. But go back to that video we showed you where old Schumer said, first we take Georgia and then we change the world. We take Georgia and we change America. Can you see Schumer saying, I can see if the Democrats are successful in the Senate races in Georgia, I can see Schumer saying this right here, word for word. "We have recovered the National Assembly," he'll say the Senate, "with the majority vote of the American people," not the Venezuelan. And I can see him saying this. It's a great victory without a doubt for democracy. Because they believe in democracy. They don't believe so much in the republic, which is what we have in this great United States. That's one thing about the left, man. They're always saying, we're defending democracy, while they impeach the duly elected president with evidence given by anonymous people in the dungeon of the Congress. So, I mean, these people burn the Constitution at the same time they say they're trying to save it. Maduro's United Socialist Party of Venezuela and allied parties captured 67% of the seats in the National Assembly on Sunday's election, just 31% of the 20 million registered voters participated in the election. Are we heading that way, ladies and gentlemen? I think we probably are. I was going to play this other video. I'm going to skip. There was a video I was going to play about showing what's at stake, MAGA people. I'm going to skip all the way down. So I want to make sure that my producer in the back knows this, because we're going to skip to the very end of this article. We're out of time. Listen to this last paragraph. As a light flow of voters entered the polls in Venezuela, long lines of drivers throughout Caracas waited to fuel up their cars as the oil-rich nation struggles to produce gasoline to meet domestic demand. So think about this. In the socialist Venezuela, that they have, some people say the number one, certainly it's one or two, largest proven oil reserves in the world in Venezuela. They're out of gas. They got no gas. This is what our future holds under a Biden, especially if they take over the U.S. Senate. They don't have any water in Venezuela. Only socialists can run out of water in a rainforest. There's no food in Venezuela. And toilet paper. We're already back to toilet paper, right? I got toilet paper. That's why I remind you of what I got here. We're already back to that. But I got to close the show with this video. This guy is Maximo Alvarez, a Cuban American of Cuban. He was born in Cuba and was brought over here by his parents. This is a compilation video of what he said at the RNC. It's about 2 minutes long. I would encourage you to watch the whole video. It's 6 or 7 minutes long. But I want to play this compilation of Mr. Maximo Alvarez, because he says it better than anybody. What is at stake in this country if we go socialist? Check it out.
My family has fled totalitarianism and communism, but my families don't run away. By the grace of God, I live the American dream, the greatest blessing I ever had. My dad, who only had a 6th grade education, told me, don't lose this place. You'll never be as lucky as me. I'm speaking to you today because my family is done abandoning what we rightfully earned. I have seen people like this before. I've seen movements like this before. I've seen ideas like this before. And I am here to tell you, we cannot let them take over our country. And I can never forget all those who grew up around me, who look like me, who suffered and starved and died because they believe those empty promises. They swallow the communist poison pill. You can still hear the sounds of those broken promises. It is the sound of waves in the ocean carrying families clinging to pieces of wood. Families with children who can't swim, but willing to risk everything to reach this blessed land. Those false promises spread the wealth, free education, free health care, defund the police, trust the socialist state more than your family and your community. They don't sound radical to my ears. They sound familiar. My parents only wanted one person to decide my fate, me. In America, I would decide my own future. I am so grateful to America, the place where I was able to build my American dream through hard work and determination. And I said this before, if I gave away everything that I have today, it would not equal 1% of what I was given when I came to this great country of ours. I still hear my dad. There is no other place to go. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless America.
There's no other place to go. If we don't fight, if we don't man the political ramparts, if we don't stand up in Georgia, if we don't fight for President Trump, if we don't keep fighting no matter what happens, understand this. Mr. Alvarez is right. I get emotional thinking about it. There's no place else to go. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page, like it, share it with others. Remember all the other social media, YouTube channel, John Martin Talks. Remember our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited. Don't forget the giveaway, Patriot Threads, 20% off, JMT promo code. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. Let's all pray for this great nation and our president. They both have earned that right. But as I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.